Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into communication, specifically this idea in leadership that, well, maybe you need to communicate way more than you think you do.
Right. It's not just saying communication is key. It's something much more active, almost counterintuitive, maybe.
Exactly. And we're using a really interesting source today. It's an excerpt from a LinkedIn post by Gunther Williams. He talks about mastering over communication.
And he calls it a secret weapon for new leaders, which, definitely makes you lean in.
It does.
So,
A secret weapon. So, okay, our mission here is to unpack that. What does he mean by over communication? We'll look at his story, the insights he got based on the source, and figure out why he thinks it's such a powerful tool.
sounds good. Where do we start? His own experience.
Yeah, let's start there. So Gunther gets his first leadership role. He, explains the objectives, lays out the plan, does it once.
Like you do, you think, okay, job done. They got it.
Totally. He genuinely thought that was enough. But then, fast forward about 6 weeks. Uh-oh.
Things weren't quite right.
Not at all. Projects were way off track. And the big thing was, his team members,
Hmm.
they all had really different ideas about what they were even supposed to be doing. The goals weren't shared at all. That one explanation just didn't stick or didn't land the same way for everyone.
Yeah, and that's super common, isn't it? When you're the leader, you've got all the background, the context, it's all clear in your head.
Right. You know the whole story.
Exactly. So you explain it and you just sort of assume everyone else hears it with that same context. But it just doesn't work like that, especially in a team.
Yeah.
Information gets filtered.
It's like a bad download, bits missing everywhere. So this is where Gunther says things really shifted for him. He had this really painful experience, and then he talked to a mentor.
The crucial mentor advice. Always good.
The mentor said something really striking. The quote from the source is, "In leadership, if you think you've communicated enough, you're probably about 40% there."
Wow. 40%. That number just stops you, right?
It really does.
It's not like, oh, maybe say it one more time. It's like, you are less than halfway there. You might need to more than double your effort.
Seriously, that 40% figure makes you rethink everything.
Yeah.
So, okay, the source then digs into why. Why is this level of, well, seeming overkill not just okay, but actually necessary?
Yeah, it breaks it down really well. The first big reason is it kills assumptions. We all hear things differently, right? Through our own filters, our jobs, what we're worried about that day.
Totally. What seems obvious to the boss might be, like, totally unclear to someone else.
Exactly. So the source says repetition, but also using different ways to communicate, like say it, then maybe email a summary, bring it up in the team meeting, maybe even draw a diagram. That's how you get everyone on the same page.
So it's not nagging, it's like hitting different frequencies to make sure the signal gets through clearly to everyone.
That's a great way to put it, and that connects directly to the second point. It builds psychological safety.
How so?
Well, think about it. If your leader is constantly sharing information, explaining the why, being transparent, it signals trust, doesn't it? It shows they're not hoarding info.
Yeah, okay. Like, information isn't power in a bad way.
Right. And when people feel that openness, they feel safer. Safer to ask questions, safer to say, hang on, I don't get this, or even push back a bit. They know the goal is shared understanding.
That makes a lot of sense. If the leader only says things once, you might feel dumb asking them to repeat it. But if they're always reinforcing, asking feels normal, encouraged even.
Precisely. And another big why the source mentions is avoiding the curse of knowledge.
Ah, yes, the classic.
You as the leader, you're swimming in the details, the history, the politics of the project. Your team, they might have like a tiny fraction of that context.
You forget what it's like not to know everything you know.
Exactly. Can't easily unknow it. So over communication, especially explaining the why all the time, providing that context, that's the bridge. It helps close that knowledge gap.
The curse of knowledge. Yeah, that really captures it. It's so hard to put yourself in the shoes of someone who doesn't have your background info.
It really is. And the last point the source makes on the why is that it clearly shows what actually matters. When you, as a leader, keep hammering home the same key themes, the main goals, the important values.
People get the message.
Yeah, they learn what the real priorities are. They know where to put their energy, how to make decisions when you're not around because you've signaled it so clearly and consistently. It directs focus without you having to micromanage every little thing.
So it's strategic signaling, not just random noise.
Got it. It has to be deliberate. Strategic over communication.
Okay, so we get the why.
Right.
It makes sense. But the how. How do you actually do this without just, annoying everyone?
Yeah.
Gunther apparently shared some practical tips from his experience.
He did. And it starts right at the beginning. Make sure the goals you're communicating in the first place are small, clear, and easy to grasp. You can't repeat mud and expect clarity.
Good point. You can't over-communicate confusion. Makes sense.
True. Then he talks about rhythm and channels, setting up regular check-ins like daily stand-ups or weekly meetings. These become natural places to reinforce messages.
Built-in opportunities.
Exactly, and using different formats. Talk about it, write it down, maybe visualize it. You reach people in different ways then.
Right, hitting those different learning or processing styles.
Yeah.
And he mentioned something about shared language.
Yes. Crucial, making sure everyone uses key terms the same way. Project Phoenix deadline means the same thing to engineering as it does to marketing. It cuts down so much confusion.
Oh, yeah. That can be a huge source of friction.
And again, always explaining the why. It keeps coming up because it's so important for context and fighting that curse of knowledge.
So it's not just we're changing direction, it's, okay, here's why we're changing direction based on X, Y, and Z, and here's what we hope to achieve.
Exactly that. And then tactically, he mentions confirming understanding, but not just taking nods as agreement.
Uh-oh. The passive nod. We all
Yeah.
do it.
We do. It often means, I heard noise, or maybe, please move on. It doesn't mean I understand. So asking open-ended questions that make the person explain it back in their own words, that's how you really check.
That makes them process it and reveals any gaps. Smart. Okay, one last thing he mentioned, celebrating progress.
Yes. Publicly celebrating wins, especially wins that clearly align with the goals you've been communicating. It reinforces what success looks like and shows that the communication is leading to tangible results. It's positive feedback.
It closes the loop.
Yeah.
Okay, so Gunther starts doing all this stuff, aiming to get way past that 40% mark. What happened? What were the results described in the source?
Well, the sources, they were pretty transformative. Projects started finishing on time and with way fewer revisions needed.
Ah, the dream. Less rework.
Isn't it just? That's a direct result of everyone actually being aligned from the get-go. And interestingly, team members started solving problems more proactively.
Because they actually understood the bigger picture.
Exactly. They got the why.
Yeah.
They understood the real objectives, so they could make smart calls on their own, deal with hiccups without needing constant direction. They weren't just, waiting for instructions.
That's huge. It's like clarity led to autonomy.
That's the paradox, isn't it? More communication leading to more independence. It feels backwards at first.
It really does. What else?
Thanks.
Any other benefits?
Yeah, he also noticed better collaboration between different teams, probably because that shared language started to stick and everyone had a clearer view of the overall mission. And fundamentally, all this clarity just empowered people. They could run with things confidently because the context and priorities were so consistently reinforced.
That link between intense communication and genuine autonomy is really the core insight here, I think.
Yeah.
But the source does mention this isn't always easy to do, right? It can feel weird.
Oh, absolutely. Especially for new leaders, this idea of productive redundancy, saying
Yeah.
things multiple times, it can feel really uncomfortable.
Yeah, you sound like a broken record or like you're nagging.
Or even condescending, as if you think your team isn't smart enough to get it the first time. It sort of goes against our instinct to be efficient and concise.
Right. Get it said, move on.
But the source pushes back on that fear directly. Gunther found that teens actually don't resent it, assuming it's done well, They don't hear it as noise or mistrust.
How do you hear it as?
They hear it as clarity, as support, as my leader is making sure I have everything I need to succeed. They actually thrive on it because it removes the guesswork and the anxiety of not being sure what's expected.
So they see it as an investment in them, really, not a judgment.
That's the reframing. It's not about doubting intelligence. It's about respecting how complex communication actually is and how busy people are.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway here from Gunther Williams' experience in the source? It seems like this overcommunication isn't really about being overbearing.
Not at all. It's not micromanagement. It's not about a lack of trust. It's fundamentally about building clarity, a really solid shared understanding across the team.
And that clarity, that's what unlocks everything else.
That's the foundation. It's what allows for real autonomy, for people to take ownership and make good decisions independently because they're all working from the same clear map.
A strong signal everyone can tune into so they can navigate themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, so turning this to you, the listener, how might this apply? This idea that maybe you're only 40% of the way there with your communication.
Yeah, think about something you needed to communicate recently, a project update, maybe a change in plans, a key goal. Did you explain it once and assume it landed?
Were you relying on those nods, or did you really check for understanding?
Mm-hmm. And if, like Gunther found, consistently explaining the why and using real questions to confirm understanding can actually transform the results.
What assumptions about shared understanding might you need to challenge this week, maybe in your team or even just in a one-on-one conversation?
What's one message you could perhaps reinforce or one why you could make just a little bit clearer? Something to think about.